Adiz was the most beautiful woman in the town of Umuikpa. Rich, glamorous, and confident, she lived like a queen. But one night, a poor girl sees her doing the unthinkable, eating sand at an abandoned building. Word spreads fast, and her secrets begin to unravel. Why would a woman with everything feed on dirt? What curse is behind her beauty? And what happens to those who try to mock or expose her? Stay with me as find out in this gripping tale. Please subscribe to Tales by Amah. Umuikpa was a small town with dusty roads and noisy mornings. But among the many faces that walked its earth, one name sat on everyone's tongue: Adiz. She was beautiful. No, not just beautiful. She was too beautiful. Her skin glowed like fresh palm oil in the sun. Her eyes shone like morning dew. And her shape, like something the gods carved with full concentration. She didn't walk, she floated. Her long fingernails sparkled pink. Her hair, always fresh, always long, and always smelling like fine perfume. Children would stop to stare. Women would go silent in envy. Men would trip over their slippers just to greet her. Adiz wore red a lot. Not just any red, but the kind of red that made people's heads turn. Fitted gowns, shining earrings, and heels that clicked with authority. She always had a small gold bag and the latest phone. No one ever saw her repeat clothes. How could she? Adiz was rich. But the funny thing? Nobody knew what she did for a living. Some said her father was a rich man who left her millions. Others claimed she was a business tycoon selling hair online. A few whispered that she had big men in the city sending her money. But none of these people ever saw her working. Yet her house was the biggest in Umuikpa, and her car was always shiny. To many, Adiz was living the dream. Girls tried to copy her. They wore long nails and high heels like hers. They bleached their skin. They tried to smile the way she smiled and walk the way she walked. But no one could touch her level. She was like a star in the sky, close to your eyes, far from your hands. Even old mamas would say, Adiz na noir diegwu. That girl is not ordinary. But nobody said that in front of her. Why? Because Adiz was friendly. She greeted everyone with a soft voice. She gave children money. She danced at weddings. She even attended church sometimes. One day, at the village square, someone asked, "Who will marry this Adiz?" The other person replied, "Can any man stand beside her? She is more than human." And so, while she walked through Umuikpa like royalty, people only watched, smiled, and whispered. What they didn't know was that Adiz kept a secret. A dark, crawling secret that only the night knew. Because when the town sleeps, Adiz wakes. Not for parties. Not for men. Not for prayers. But for sand. Yes, sand. Inside an abandoned building, far from the streetlight, Adiz would kneel like a hungry animal, fingers long, painted red, scooping sand into her mouth as if it was rice and stew. And one day, someone saw her. Ijeoma was only 10 years old, but she was as sharp as pepper. People called her Small Radio because she always saw what others missed. If someone sneezed in the next street, Ijeoma would know what they ate. She lived 2 compounds away from Adiz. Anytime Adiz passed by, Ijeoma would run to the gate and peep through the holes. "Mummy, see her. That fine auntie with red dress again. Face your homework," her mother would shout. But Ijeoma couldn't help it. Adiz fascinated her. She looked like the princesses from cartoons, only finer. Ijeoma would imagine herself growing up to be like her, beautiful, rich, and glowing. One evening, while the sun was setting and the sky turned orange like purple, Ijeoma's mother sent her to buy Maggie from Mama Nkech's shop. The shop was just a corner away. But on her way, Ijeoma saw something strange. Adiz walked past quickly, not in her usual fancy heels but in flat sandals. She wore a long red gown, and her face looked serious. She wasn't smiling or waving. She just walked fast, holding her small bag tight. Ijeoma felt a pull in her chest. Why is she sneaking like that? She ducked behind the transformer pole and tiptoed quietly. Adiz didn't go to her house. She crossed the road, passed behind the old primary school, and headed toward the bush path near the uncompleted building, an old place where people dumped broken blocks and sand. Amah followed. Her heart was beating like a drum. If Mummy catches me in. But something in her said, just look. She stopped near a wall, peeped from the corner, and what she saw made her mouth fall open. Adiz had dropped her bag on the ground. She crouched low in front of a large sand heap. She looked around once. Then with both hands, she began to scoop sand, dry, brown, rough sand, into her mouth. And she was eating it fast. Her red nails dug into the sand like claws. She moaned as if the sand was sweet. Her earrings shook with every bite. Her eyes rolled back like she was enjoying it too much. Like sand was cake. Amah gasped. She covered her mouth before a sound came out. She couldn't believe her eyes. Adiz, the glowing goddess of Umuikpa, was eating sand like it was hot jollof rice. She turned and ran. Sand or no sand, she wasn't staying one more second. That night, Amah couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned on her mat, staring at the ceiling, hugging her tiny wrapper. Her mother thought she had malaria. But how could she sleep, knowing the most beautiful woman in town was eating sand like food? By morning, she had made up her mind. She needed to tell someone. Maybe her friend Nkem. Or her auntie. Or even Pastor Chike. She tried to talk to Nkem during break time in school. Nkem, if I tell you something, will you believe me? Yes now. What is it? Amah looked left and right, then leaned close. You know that fine auntie? The one with red dress. Adiz. Amah nodded. I saw her last night eating sand. Nkem frowned. Sand? You mean groundnut? No, oh. Real sand. Like that one they use to build house. Nkem burst into laughter. Amah, you have started. You watch too many scary cartoons. I'm serious. Next thing you'll say, she eats stones too. Amah's face fell. I swear. I saw her with my 2 eyes. She knelt down and was eating it like. But Nkem had already lost interest. The rest of the day, Amah kept quiet. Nobody would believe her. Except one person. Her grandmother. Maman Keiruka was old, quiet, and always drinking agbo from her calabash. She knew stories. Deep ones. Scary ones. If anyone would understand, it was her. So Amah waited until her next visit to their house. That Friday, after eating yam and palm oil, she pulled her grandma aside. Mama, can I tell you something? Talk, Noir M. I saw someone eating sand. Mama blinked slowly. A child? No. A grown woman. Very beautiful. Fine clothes. Long nails. Her name is Adiz. Maman Keiruka's face changed. Her lips tightened. Where did you see her? Amah described the uncompleted building and the sand heap. For a long time, her grandma didn't speak. Then she said in a low voice, some beauties come with a price. Heh. Mama sighed and looked at her. You must never follow Adiz again. Do you hear me? But Mama, why is she eating sand? What does it mean? The old woman leaned close and whispered, that one is carrying a burden. Not all that glitters is pure. What kind of burden? But Mama didn't answer. She simply looked away and murmured something in Igbo. Later that night, Amah's thoughts raced. What did Mama mean? Was Adiz cursed? Did she offend someone? Or was she a spirit in disguise? Suddenly, the fine red dress, the glowing skin, the expensive bag, all looked different in her mind. Scary. Fake. Amah made a decision. She would find out more. Even if nobody believed her. Because something was not right with Adiz. Something very wrong. And Umuikpa was too blind to see it. Umuikpa market was always full on Saturdays. The air smelled of fried akara, ripe pineapples, and fish just beginning to spoil. Women shouted prices over each other. Roosters ran between legs. Babies cried on backs. Baskets shifted on heads. And in the middle of all the noise, gossip traveled faster than motorbike. It all started when Ijeoma's mother overheard her talking in her sleep. The girl had been murmuring, tossing on her mat, whispering in fear. She was eating sand, with her hands, red dress, red dress. At first, her mother ignored it. But by the third night, she got worried. So she asked Ijeoma over breakfast, "Who is eating sand?" Ijeoma hesitated. "Nobody." Her mother frowned. "You better open your mouth before I use cane." So Ijeoma spilled it. She told her everything, how she followed Adeze, how she saw her eat sand like food, how she dug it with her fingers and closed her eyes in joy. Her mother laughed at first. But then her laughter slowly died. "You better not say this outside, oh. That woman is not someone to play with." "Why?" Ijeoma asked. "She's not just fine, she's connected. Big men visit her. Nobody knows her story. Just keep your mouth shut, okay?" But it was too late. That very evening, Ijeoma's mother visited Amah Chisholm's stall to buy okra. And as usual, small talk began. "How market? We day manage. You see that fish seller fighting today?" "Yes, oh, I was even there." Then somehow, nobody knows how, it slipped out. "You know that fine Adeze? My daughter said she saw her eating sand." Silence. Amah Chisholm dropped her spoon. "Which sand?" "Real sand. As in, building sand." "You're joking." "I swear. My daughter no day lie. She saw it with her own eyes." By the time Amah Chisholm moved to the next stall, the story had changed. Adeze eats sand every night. She wears red so the blood won't show. By the time it reached the meat seller, Adeze is a vampire spirit. Her beauty is fake. She feeds on soil like the dead. And by sunset, the whole market was buzzing like bees. The next day, Adeze walked into the market in her usual confident style. Red dress. Lipstick like wine. Sunglasses that covered half her face. Heels clicking. But something was different. Nobody greeted her. The noise dropped. Eyes followed her, but this time, not in admiration. In fear. In confusion. In suspicion. Even Mama Ibeji, who once hugged Adeze just for saying good morning, moved her tomatoes aside when Adeze passed. Adeze noticed. Of course, she did. She paused by the plantain seller. "How much for that one?" The woman looked away. "It's finished." "But I'm looking at it now." "I said it's finished." Adeze blinked. Then moved on. Two boys near the bread stand began giggling. One whispered loudly, "Maybe she wants to buy sand." The other laughed. "She go use 'em for soup." Adeze's face turned stiff. She clutched her bag tighter and walked straight out of the market. That evening, something strange happened. The town's chickens didn't return to their cages. Dogs barked non-stop at the night sky. And a strong breeze swept through the village, lifting wrappers off clotheslines and slamming doors shut on their own. The elders said, "It's not ordinary." And they were right. Because Adeze didn't go home. She went straight to the abandoned building. Her gown dragging in the dust. Her face twisted in hunger. She didn't even check if anyone was watching. She just dropped to her knees and began eating. Sand flying. Sand pouring. Sand sticking to her cheeks and lips like sugar on Puff Puff. She moaned. She cried. She clawed at the ground. And far away, someone was watching. Ijeoma. Again. This time, she had brought a friend, her cousin Kamsi. The two of them had crept out quietly, holding hands, hiding behind banana trees, watching from a broken window. They both saw it. Clear as daylight. And this time, Kamsi believed her. They ran home breathless, not knowing what to do. Because what they saw wasn't just strange, it was scary. Adeze's mouth had torn at the corners. Her hands were bleeding. And still, she was eating like her life depended on it. By morning, Umuikpa was on fire. The news had exploded. Adiz eats sand like food. She is cursed. She has snakes under her bed. She uses people's shadows to cook soup. She's not even human. Every house, every street, every shop. The name Adiz no longer brought admiration. It brought shivers. People stopped sending their children to greet her house. Women crossed to the other side when they saw her. Men who once dreamt of dating her now warned their sons to stay away. Even the church whispered prayers in her name. And Adiz, she locked herself in. 4 days. No movement. No music. No posts online. No more red dresses dancing through the dust. Just silence. Heavy, thick silence. Until one day, she came out. Not in heels. Not in makeup. But barefoot. Hair scattered. Eyes red like pepper. And she walked straight to the village square. To speak. The village square was half full, but everybody stood far back. Adiz stood in the middle. Her gown was torn at one side, her feet dusty, and her earrings gone. She didn't look like the Adiz people knew. She looked human. Why is she here? Someone whispered. She wants to curse us. Or confess. Adiz raised her hand. Her voice was calm, but it shook like a paper in the wind. I heard you've all been talking. Watching me. Fearing me. No one replied. She nodded slowly. Good. Maybe it's time you knew the truth. Everyone leaned in. But just as she opened her mouth, a strong wind blew across the square. Loud. Angry. The sky darkened for no reason. A baby began crying. Adiz froze. Her eyes darted around like something invisible had slapped her. No, no, not now, she muttered. Then she screamed. Her scream tore through the air like thunder. She turned and ran. People jumped aside. She fled like something was chasing her, only no one could see what it was. A stray chicken flew into the air. A woman fainted. The village square emptied in seconds. And the truth. It remained locked in her throat. That night, nobody slept. Fowls refused to enter their coops. Palms rattled without wind. A man claimed he saw a black figure perched on his zinc roof whispering Adiz's name. Others began recalling old things. Like how Adiz moved into town 3 years ago with no clear family. Or how her compound never lacked electricity even during blackouts. And how no matter the season, her hibiscus flowers always bloomed red, blood red. Even the old madman under the mango tree started chanting a new song. Fine face, sand teeth, pretty dress, dirty feet. One eye red, one eye grey. Spirit wife has come to stay. Meanwhile, in her locked room, Adiz sat before a cracked mirror. Her face was stained with sand. Her fingers bruised. Her lips cracked. She looked at herself and cried. Then she spoke, not to herself, but to something else. Something in the mirror. I told you I'm tired, she said. I kept my end. You said 3 years. The mirror didn't reply, but its reflection began to shift. Her face melted, and another face took its place, a woman with green eyes and grey lips. Hair long and wet like it just came from the river. Adiz shivered. I want to stop. The face in the mirror smiled. You can't. You asked for beauty. You begged for it. You signed the pact. I didn't know it would come with this hunger. You knew. I didn't know it would make me eat sand like meat. You wanted to be admired. Now you are feared. Isn't that a form of power? Adiz began crying again. Please. Let me go. Let me tell them. The mirror face shook its head. Tell them, and the ground will swallow you whole. Then, crack, the mirror shattered. Adiz fell backward, bleeding from her forehead. But she had made a decision. She would not die with the secret. She would find a way to break the curse. Even if it meant going back to where it all began. At the same time, Ijeoma was dreaming. In her dream, she saw Adeze. Only this time, she wasn't wearing red. She was standing in a white wrapper, barefoot, surrounded by sand dunes. "Auntie Adeze?" Ijeoma asked. Adeze turned slowly. Her eyes were hollow. "Ijeoma, help me." "How?" "Find the woman with the crooked toe. She knows." Then she vanished in a swirl of sand. Ijeoma woke up sweating. "Mama!" Her mother rushed in. "I had a dream. She spoke to me. She wants help." "Who?" "Adeze." Her mother's face turned pale. "Stop this madness, Ijeoma." "I swear." But Maman Keiruka, her grandmother, had been listening by the door. She stepped in slowly and said, "She's ready." Ijeoma blinked. "You believe me?" The old woman nodded. "The spirit she carries is not new to this land. It comes once every 100 years. And it always chooses beauty. So how can we help her?" The old woman's eyes turned serious. "We must find the woman with the crooked toe." Back in Adee's house, strange things began to happen. A black shadow appeared under her bed and refused to move. Her walls started breathing. Yes, breathing, in and out, like lungs. And worst of all, she could no longer eat sand. It now tasted like ash. Her hunger worsened. Her skin began to crack. Her eyes turned pale. The curse was shifting. Changing. It wanted more. She now hungered. For bones. The next morning, before the sun could fully stretch over Umuikpa, Ijeoma packed a bag with a bottle of water, dry gari, and 2 boiled eggs. Her grandmother, Maman Keiruka, wrapped her Bible in a cloth and tied it to her waist. "We're going to Abakiliki," she said. "That's where the woman with the crooked toe lives. She used to be a seer, before her mouth twisted and she stopped talking." "Is she a witch?" Ijeoma asked. "She's just a woman who saw too much and told the wrong person." They boarded a rickety bus that smelled of goat pee and engine oil. The driver wore one slipper and a cap that said "No time for nonsense." They squeezed in beside a man carrying a basket of hot snails. For 4 hours, they bumped through red roads and winding paths. Maman Keiruka kept praying silently. Ijeoma held her hand the whole way. She didn't know what to expect, but one thing was clear: Adeze was changing, and fast. Meanwhile, in Umuikpa, Adeze hadn't left her room in 2 days. She kept the curtains shut. Her power supply had finally gone out. Her fridge smelled. Her bones ached. And the sand? She could no longer even touch it. Every time her hand reached for a handful, something inside her stomach churned. Not the sweet pull she used to feel, but pain, cramping, nausea. Her body had moved past sand. She didn't know what it wanted now, but the hunger was worse than before. Sometimes her nose would bleed in the night. Her mouth stayed dry, no matter how much water she drank. She was decaying. Not in the spiritual way. In the real, human way. The curse was eating her from the inside out. When Ijeoma and Maman Keiruka finally arrived in Abakiliki, the sun was high, and the air was dusty. People stared at them as they walked through narrow streets asking questions. "The woman with the crooked toe," one man said. "You mean Mama Obadai? She still lives?" "Barely. Go down by the old shrine road. Her hut is the last before the palm tree with no leaves." They followed the directions. The village had an eerie quietness. No music. No loud chatter. Just chickens and the wind. When they reached the hut, Ijeoma shivered. It was old, mud walls, roof half fallen, a broken bench outside. A smell of herbs and palm oil lingered in the air. Maman Keiruka knocked. Silence. Then, a slow dragging sound. A woman opened the door. She was old. Very old. Face full of wrinkles, eyes milky white. And yes, her right toe was bent sideways like it never healed from an injury. She didn't speak. She just looked at them and nodded once. As if she'd been waiting. She pointed inside. They sat in the dusty hut. The woman stirred a pot of bitter leaf soup like she had all the time in the world. Then Maman Keruka spoke. We came about a girl. Her name is Adiz. From Umuikpa. Beautiful. Mysteriously so. But something is wrong. She eats sand. She's fading. And something is pulling her into darkness. The old woman didn't reply. Instead, she reached under her stool and pulled out an old calabash, tied with red thread. She untied it. Smoke poured out. Not spiritual smoke, real smoke, with a bitter, herbal smell. She dropped something into it, a tiny black stone, and pointed at Ijeoma. Me? Ijeoma asked. The woman nodded and handed her a white chalk. I think she wants you to write, Maman Keruka said. So Ijeoma wrote on the floor, in clear block letters. What is happening to Adiz? The old woman stared. Then her lips moved. Dry, cracked, but moving. She is not the first, she rasped. She made a deal. Long ago. With an old woman on the road. For beauty. For love. For power. Ijeoma's heart raced. What kind of deal? The woman's eyes turned sharp. She was told, beauty is blood. Admiration is a cost. What you gain in face, you pay in flesh. She didn't believe it. Until it was too late. She was given a mirror. A special mirror. It will break on the final day. When it does, her secret will either be her death or her freedom. Maman Keruka leaned forward. Is there a way to break it before then? The old woman shook her head. Only if the truth is confessed willingly before the 7th cycle. What's the 7th cycle? The woman's eyes dimmed. 7 full moons from the night she first ate sand. You have 1 moon left. 1. The woman looked at Ijeoma. If she doesn't confess by then, she won't just die. She'll vanish. And someone else, someone close, will inherit the hunger. Ijeoma gasped. Me? The woman nodded once. The curse doesn't end. It passes on. That evening, they returned to Umuikpa. The sun was setting, and the village was quieter than usual. When they reached Adiz's house, they found something disturbing. Her front door was wide open. Inside, the living room was a mess. Smashed plates. Torn clothes. Blood drops on the floor. But no Adiz. Not even a sign of where she'd gone. Just one thing left behind on the center table. A cracked mirror. And a red dress, folded neatly beside it. What happened next will shock you. If you are enjoying this story so far, comment part 2 for the next part. Bye for now.